All right. Hi, everyone. This is our call with Greg Bryers on The Alchemist. So hi to all of the messages from Books community members that are catching this now, that are going to catch it in the middle. We got a revolving door, that are going to catch it later. Thank you for sending in questions. Thank you for your enthusiasm about the community. And let's see what else we can create together. It's been interesting to do a book club. Anytime I do it during the summer, it's kind of interesting with all the travel and the different moving pieces. And at the same time, it seems really different this year because of travel restrictions and what's going on with that. It just hit me like an aha today, like how much are people actually having an interesting take on The Alchemist, given what's going on with travel and journeying in the world right now. Like, it's like, okay, yes, they can travel with this book. Yes, they can go on the journey with this book. And well, I don't want it that way. I want it this other particular way. And so if it can't show up that way, there's a kind of like this tantrum energy. So I definitely want to acknowledge that. And want to say thank you so much, Greg, for bringing this book back into my life. Each of our co-hosts get to pick the book, and I am such a different person after reading this book this time around. I definitely went on the journey. I definitely cried at the end. Like, I got to this destination at the end of the book, just like our main character, Santiago. And so I'm really glad that you joining the Messages from Books community has invited me to revisit this book
You're
after,
welcome.
gosh, more than a decade. So immense gratitude, my friend. Um, So we have some people that are going to be on mute because they're traveling and things like that. And then we have the questions that were sent in. Just for you, just in case people hadn't gotten information from us in our discussions before about what you've gotten from this book, what you love about this book. Could you let us know what's your take on it and why it's been such a important book in your life?
Well, really, for me, it's quite amazing. I mean, leading up to this call, I've been thinking, well, why the hell? What is it about this book? Gabby keeps asking me, so why do you like this book? You've read it how many times now? And it's like, I really can't answer that because I still don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
know that it grabs me in my imagination and what's possible. It grabs me in that it feels so familiar because, my life hasn't been easy and it's been an interesting journey to even come into here to now. I mean, talk about travel restrictions. I'm in Paris at the moment. Next week, I'm in Budapest. The week after that, I'm in um, Freiburg or Germany or somewhere, and then I go back to Hungary. So, for me, travel has not been too much of a problem, except I can't go home. I can't go back to New Zealand. I can't get into the country. So, what is it about this book that really grabs me? And I think it's because there's some truths that are put into it in a way that are so simple, so simplistic that you can get them so easily. And of course, people don't because it's the eyes. They're reading it as a novel and finding it such a simple novel they don't want to watch it. But when you look at it from that different light, um, you see it differently, and then you actually start to receive the message.
Well, it's the two things come up as you're talking about that. One, when you're like, I don't know yet why I love this book, and I'm asking like what's important about it for you, but not really from a space of why. And then it was reminding me of when Fatima in the book is talking to the main character Santiago, and she's like, "You love me, and that's why you love me. You don't have to explain why. Like, it
Yeah,
just is."
yeah,
And that's the relationship it sense that you have with this book. It's like it's my book. It's my
yeah,
go-to. It's my companion, and there's not a why there. And there's a
yeah,
beauty in that.
yeah. It's traveled with me more places than most of my clients.
And
You
then there's a
know,
comment in the chat here says, yes, truth can be so simple and so overlooked, right? nearly discarded. And yeah, what's true for us can easily be dismissed, discarded. And that's one of the things that comes up over and over again in this book, and these many moments where the main character has to actually honor what's true for him and keep deciding to
Yeah,
strive for their personal legend. The other piece that you were just saying, Greg, is this whole gosh, with my brain being tired, I kind of lost it there. Oh, the truth being so simple. There's a part in the book where they talk about there's these meta moments where it's kind of like the book's like winking at you. There's
yeah,
so many
yeah.
moments like that that I love. I was like,
So,
I see what you're doing. I see it.
and, it's those real fuck it moments where you go, it can't be that easy, and then you try it, and oh my god, it was.
And they say that there's so many characters that like, people want to make it like philosophical and like really complicate things. It's all was on the emerald. It was there. It's simple. And then they want to make multiple books and novels from this really simple thing that was always there and it's still available if you're willing to have
Yeah,
it. But we want to
yeah,
like make it more complicated. And I wonder how
yeah.
much that's applicable to many of us in different times of our lives.
Oh, even in different facets. I mean, you look at religion. In one book, the Christian religion, one book, and how many different Christian religions are there based on the one book, all claiming to be the true religion. The rest are all false.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you come back to the basics, it's like today's a good day to die.
Yeah, yeah. I love that too. And I think that was one of many things that I resisted from this book the first time around. There's a lot that I was like, oh, like it was like this like whisper of me in the past. It was like that right there. Ugh, like, ugh. And how I could not have the same charge, but still be like, oh, I can see how I reacted to it given what I was dealing with, what was going on in my life at the time. And now, okay, what's really there for me? And if there's anything there at all, or is it just a matter of me turning the page? I keep reading the story. Um, there's another comment in the chat. A question: does an alchemist have the task to distill truth from all manures in this reality? What's your take? Love it.
Well, I guess it's what I have to distill what's true for me from all the shit that I've been fed. But what I find is true for me doesn't necessarily make it true for everybody. And that's part of the journey, is that it's allowing other people to find their own truth and not trying to force your truth onto them. This again with when young Santiago is talking to the alchemist, so show me how. He said, no, I can't show you how. This is your journey. I already know how to become the wind. This is something you have to learn. And it's all of these things. And I mean, self-transformation happens because we choose it for ourselves. I can't come along and show you all of these things that work for me and expect you to repeat them and change for you. Because if you are resistant to any one of those things, nothing happens, because you will try, but you won't do.
Yeah, this actually reminds me, it's very timely. Yesterday, I was having a conversation with a friend that I've known since high school, and I genuinely can call her a friend now. I don't use that word lightly, but we hadn't spoken for, since the high school graduation until a couple years ago. And she reached out to me because she saw some of my videos, and she was going through a very hard time where she was hearing voices where she thought she was losing her mind. And something about one of the videos, I couldn't even tell you which one, was like, maybe I can talk about this crazy stuff with Siris. So she reached out to me, and we started a conversation. I, connected her with some people that could give her some private sessions where she was, because she was living, hours away from me by car, and she didn't have a way to get to me at the time. And it gave her some other tools, some other, possibilities, just kind of was space with her in a lot of ways. And we were having this conversation yesterday where she was like, So you knew that I'd been abused by my family and that my family was still abusing me this whole time after we reconnected, didn't you? And I was like, yep, I did. And she's like, why didn't you tell me that they were abusing me? And I was like, because it wasn't for me to tell you what was true for you. And she was like, and I was telling her, I was like, well, it's very disempowering for me to tell you that. And then it comes from me instead of from you discovering on your own and then you knowing that you could choose something different. I asked other questions, like we were talking about other things, remember? And I pointed out some of the questions I asked, but I was like, I wasn't going to tell you this thing that you weren't willing to perceive yet, that you weren't ready to hear. And then if I did tell you, you may or may not have heard me. You might have then all of a sudden blocked me and we couldn't have these conversations anymore. And then I couldn't have your back for when now you are ready to choose something different. And she was like, I was like, I want to say, she was like, I want to say that I would have heard you and I wouldn't have lashed out and I wouldn't have been mad at you, but I'm not sure. So I get what you're saying. And thank you. And thank you for being with me now and for letting me get there. And now she's in a completely different city. She has this dream job, dream apartment, just super happy, so happy for her. We're planning on, I'm planning on visiting her and hanging out. And yet there's this piece that I got when I was reading The Alchemist this time, that I was like, I wasn't that person that could have done that and been that kind of friend the first time I read this book. Which is another thing that probably pissed me off. I was like, don't tell me that I can't tell everybody how they should live their life. What?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, for me, before I read the book, I was an arrogant asshole, I was busy trying to save everybody.
Yeah, it really invites us to let go of control. I mean, I've been having multiple moments over the course of revisiting this book where I've been even more recognizing where I've been tight fisting or controlling and just being like, I'm dropping the rope. I'm not doing the tug of war. I'm not fighting with this. I'm going to let somebody else handle this aspect of my business, or like reach out to have somebody else handle this part of my home life. Like, let's just, let go. And man, it's just, what's opened up for me has been really beautiful. And on that same vein, one of the questions that was sent in, and again, you guys, thank you so much for sending in questions. I know that we're all different time zones, including we have some people from New Zealand, Greg. So they're asleep right now. I think in New Zealand time zone. Oop, I think there's a bit of a lag. Let me see. Okay, you guys got me?
I'm sorry, I've just lost my speaker.
Yeah, you got me now? Can you hear me now? Oh, I see your headphones went out for a little bit. Okay.
I just lost my speakers, so.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you a moment. No worries.
I got it. I'm back.
Okay. All right, cool. So one of the questions that was sent in, I was just saying that that we actually have some members in New Zealand that I think are asleep right now or working, or maybe both. I don't know, asleep while working. Hopefully not. And they send in questions. We have some other people around different time zones. So we try to make this work and still have your back through all of it. Okay, good. Thank you for letting me know that you can hear me still. And one of the questions is, I'm going through a lot of life transitions right now. How can I use the messages from this book or any of the books in our community so far to know what to tackle first? That's the first part of the question. What to tackle first, and how I can have more success with all the change that's showing up. You got some some awareness and input on that one, Greg?
Really, for me, this book really taught me about trust. It's about trusting the awareness that you have, trusting that there's a flow to everything. So instead of trying to see the end of the journey all the time, what if you just see the moments and then just travel from moment to moment, and you'll get to the end of the journey? And we make ourselves, we're taught to make ourselves wrong, and so many groups and so many communities around us, we're told, oh no, everyone makes you wrong. But what if we stop doing that ourselves?
Yeah.
What if we just trust that, okay, aside the boy, he lost his money in the plaza. So he's walking along the street. He sees a man with crystal glassware out the front of his shop. He goes in, says, if you give me some food, I'll clean your shop for you. You know, he trusted his awareness and he stayed there for a while and made money. It's like, what would happen if we just let go, having to be right, having to find the right thing all the time, and just listen to that quiet voice that we all have inside us that says, hey, look over there. Hey, this is a possibility. Hey, don't go down that street. Don't go to that hotel. Don't trust that guy. Don't look at that girl, you know, all of these things.
And also the do, like not only the do nots, but also the do, when you'll know when it's time to do.
That's right. Because this is the thing, is you'll know, and you'll actually see the doors open as you choose that. And as you begin to create in that direction, all the doors just go and everything's possible. And this is what I mean. It's like when you're willing to trust the signs, the omens, as the book says, you know, and you're willing to see them, then they're there waiting for you to just go, hi. But you have to learn to trust that you know you better than anybody else except the universe. And the universe is you anyway. So
yeah, there's no separation there. You know, have you heard of the term Cledons?
no, what is that?
So Cledons, I learned about them many years ago. I want to say, gosh, at least 15 years ago now. I was reading this book called Messages from Spirit, I believe it's called. And I'll pop it in our community as well. But in Messages from Spirit, they talk about Cledons, and I just got this other piece of this repetition of, you know, having a dream multiple times. A lot of the characters have the dream over and over again, or they'll get a vision over and over again. And with Cledons, it's not about signs. It's just all willy-nilly, like to confirm what you've already decided is what is supposed to happen. You know, a lot of people use, you see, I knew it. It was a sign. That's what this right here just confirmed it. This ladybug just crossed my path, and it means all those different things. I think it's spelled, good question. I want to say it's spelled Clidon, but I'm going to look it up instead of Kleed, however you spelled it, Don. I think it's Clidon, but don't quote me yet, because I just remember saying it and looking it up and how to pronounce it at the time. But with the idea with Cledons in this book, and it's, you know, just spirit is just for me another word for universe, another word for your awareness. Like you said, that's all connected. And the idea was this number of 3, where if something comes up as a message or an image 3 times, and it's actually a Cledon, that's a message from the universe, a message from spirit. And all these different 3s that came up in this book too. I was like, how many times are they like, oh, you know, if it happens once, it's probably going to happen again. If it happens, it's not going to happen again, they said in the quote. So if it happens once, it's not going to happen again. If it's happened twice, then it'll for sure happen thrice, or something like that was one of the lines in the book. And there's this aspect of this repetition of messages that I noticed over and over again in the book, that I was like, wow, how many Cledons were, it's just another word they're talking about for omens, for hunches, for these visions. And how many Cledons are we getting is the other piece I'm going to add into what you're saying for this person that sent in the question. Like, how many things are coming up over and over again as a Cledon that's like, this is where you're supposed to go next, or this is the thing to tackle next. So that, but it's still their awareness. Like, I agree with you, they're the expert of their lives. And so where are these messages coming in that maybe they've ignored, or they've been kind of distracted from receiving?
And often they're not logical.
Like ever.
No, I would massage people, and I'd get an awareness about this person. I'd get it once and I'd just ignore it. Okay, that's interesting, sort of thing. If it came up 3 times, I said, look, this has come into my mind 3 times now. I just need to say this. And they're all the time, if I listen to the 3 times, they go, oh my God, yes, right on the button, you know. And so it's like, but if after the first one, often they'll say, no, that didn't happen. Later they'll confess that it did, but you know, they don't want to look at that. So just back off,
Mm.
and but it's all of these things, and it's like how many times we doubt on knowing that awareness, that inspiration, and don't trust ourselves because, again, how many times we've taught ourselves that somebody else knows better than we do.
Yeah, and that's what's tricky. I mean, you facilitate classes, I do classes and coaching and things too. And there's this tricky line between educating someone on tools and exposing them to different possibilities and ideas while not disempowering them and making it seem like you're know better than them about their lives, because we
Yeah.
don't. Like, doesn't really work.
No,
Hmm.
it's G for Greg, not G for God.
That.
Like I'm really lucky. I have this voice inside my head that would just say, "Shut up, Greg," and I do.
Yeah,
But
that's another thing that took me a while to listen to, was the shut up one.
yeah, and again, when it's like the book, they're traveling through the desert, and the boy's listening to the desert and he's feeling the joy of it, and then at one part he suddenly feels like there's this angst, there's this discomfort, there's this, well, something's going to happen, and sure enough, and this is the same thing. When if we're willing to listen to this and just know that our body knows, there's not a lot we can't create, we can't accomplish just with it and all of that. It's quite amazing, and really, I guess this is why I still read this book. I've got it up beside my bed now, and it's like, and I'll pull it out tonight and open it up somewhere and just read a couple of chapters, simply because it reminds me of what I desire to be.
I really agree with that. There's certain books and certain texts that do that. And this one, after I finished it, I just clicked, I have it on Kindle right now, and I just clicked on a random part that was like pulling, like it was like, they have the little timestamp at the bottom, or the page stamp. And I just clicked in one part, and then I read, and I'd had something highlighted in that part. And that was exactly what I needed to hear in that moment. It's like, okay, thank you. And I've done that with other things. Like, when you're a certified facilitator of access consciousness, you have like thousands and thousands of reference materials and texts.
Yeah.
And there's all of a sudden one of them will just be like, okay, let me just click here, let me go here. And I'll just scroll down and something will pop, and I'm like, I'm going to stop here. Something pulls at me to be like, okay, let me stop here. And then I read the clearing, or I read the information there. And I was like, oh, that's what I need to hear. Thank you. And it's this connection and conversation with my body and these different texts that I'm super, super grateful for. And so I wonder, like, I'd love for the people that are artists in our group too, to talk about how that is with certain artwork, because I don't have artwork as readily available to me in where I live like I used to. Like I have a lot in my home because I really prioritize that. And when I go to museums, I don't go in order. When I visit, like, and I look at different artwork, I like see which one pulls, and I probably see all of it, mostly everything anyway, but the order isn't all there. And I kind of recreate the narrative and the story and how I engage with the artwork that way. But I'm wondering if there's another way for us to engage and find that pull in those awarenesses with different media.
Same way.
Mm.
Stilling your mind, stilling and just listening. And you hear it. It's like a huge magnet, just pulls you to a direction, or you find your mouth saying yes to something you don't even like, it's incredible how, when you learn to trust it, when you trust the process and you trust that energy, just what gets created. Me coming to Europe was totally illogical, was totally out of, I was happy-ish in New Zealand. I wasn't busy, but I was traveling and doing work with access consciousness and stuff. But then I came to Europe, and my life is so different now. But totally illogical to actually come and do that, because left everything behind. I came here with 2 suitcases.
Yeah, I can relate to that, and I definitely want to speak to that. We have another comment in the chat. This part of facilitating and exposing people to more tools and possibilities is awesome. Please say more. Well, gosh, I mean, just to even use this book as an example, how I engage with this book this time around is very much like how I engage with coaching clients and in classes. And I definitely want to hear your take on this too, Greg. For me, it wasn't let's power through and get it done at all. It wasn't, it was very much like, hey, is it time? Is today a day to pick up the book? Is today a day to listen to the book? Because I was listening to it while looking at the text periodically, but it was such a joy to hear it this time. And usually for me, it's a lot harder to process things when it's just verbal and not some visual support. And this time it was another way to let go of control. and so I would ask each time, is today the time? Is it now a good time? And how long are we going to read today? And okay, let me know when to stop. And I do that with coaching clients as well. It's the same when you say the shut up. It's really more my body that tells me to shut up, and it's not a voice. It's like literally my body goes, and like it purses my lips for me. And it's like, okay, you're going to be quiet right now.
Yeah.
And so when it was time to stop with the book, that's what I would do. And then I would go do something else or rest or hydrate. And it would let me know when it was the next time to pick it up. And that was the same with people when I'm speaking with them and I'm, okay, is it time to mention this tool? What is the tool that I'm going to provide? What do they need to hear from me? A lot of people, they just actually want to spend time with you. They don't actually necessarily want the change, even though they might say it. And so for me to recognize that, as soon as I recognized that a lot of people just wanted to spend time with me and pay me money for it, or spend time with me and maybe get a fraction of the change that I knew was possible. Oh, okay. And I would just meet them where they were in their journey. And when they wanted to go deeper or farther, then I'd be there too. I'd be willing to be there too.
Yeah. Well, in the book, the boy is talking to the king of Salem, Melchizedek, and Melchizedek points out to the baker about the baker and how the baker built a business up rather than do what he wanted to do, which was actually to travel as a shepherd. But shepherds can't get a good wife; they have to get one who has less money, blah blah blah. And so he became a baker and he built up a business there. And the boy is looking at this man and seeing how, yes, there's a happiness and a joy in his life, but there's also that longing still and the sadness. And he's in this conversation in his mind. He's realizing that there's no point going to this man and saying, well, you can still travel. You could still do this.
It's not too late.
Because would that have been a kindness to him or to his family, And it's all of these things. And often when I get an awareness or I'm talking to somebody, sometimes I have to ask, is this going to be a kindness? I mean, sometimes I don't do it very often. I've actually told somebody twice, 2 different people in my class, look, I'm fucked off with this. I'm going to give you your money back. You can take your story and piss off, go home, because you're wasting everybody's time here in the class.
Yeah, I've had to do that as well.
And I said it really loudly. The whole class jumped. And each time this person took, but that's not what I want. I said, well, then choose something different, And it was enough to have a slap in the face. But other times I can sit there and just have tears coming down my face, watching this person fighting change and being totally present with them without saying a word, and just being there with them, and they're able to work through it and create the change for themselves. It's like, when are we willing to just be the voice of the planet, of the earth, of the universe, be ourselves, and in a way without ego, without a role to play. And really, I so love the book because of in my life, growing up as a boy, I had so many older people who would take me under their arm, talk to me quietly about something, and then leave me be. And each time they would inspire me to do more and to be more. And if it wasn't for those people, I know that I wouldn't be alive now, neither would my father. These are all things that they were able to just quietly and peacefully change in a very, very angry boy. And when you read the book and you see this boy being guided peacefully and quietly by these amazing teachers that have it's the real unconditional love, the real judgment-free. I love you because you're going to do this for me, sort of thing. They're just there from, and then see you bye. We've done our bit. Good luck for the rest of your journey. And that's what these people did for me. And it's like, again, there's that parallel in my life with this book, and it really brings up the gratitude that I have for my past and for the alchemists that came into my life and changed me.
Yeah.
Really, they were all alchemists. They were people who were willing to nurture a boy that was broken. And Santiago's on his journey. He's on this quest, and he's being nurtured by people who guide him just a little nudge.
Yeah, I wonder if this book is also then, I mean, it certainly has for me, and it sounds like it's been for you, is just this invitation for us to acknowledge the people that have been those mentors, those alchemists, those angels along our path. I think those are interchangeable words in a lot of ways, especially if it's a mentor that and someone that showed up that was that space of inspiration, of just giving you space and being with you and wherever you were in your journey.
Yeah. And really, when this again is where alchemy is, for me, is not something that is a force, it's an invitation.
Yeah.
And again,
it's very different energy.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And I find that to be the case with all of the co-hosts for our community. Like I definitely, and Megan's here, so I hope you hear this, Megan. You might be traveling as you're connecting to our call today. And then my conversation with you, Greg, and the conversations I've had with our upcoming hosts. You have all been alchemists in my life. Like these conversations are alchemical. How do you say it? Yeah. But it's beyond that, because it's like it continues to keep going throughout my body, throughout my reality, even after we have the conversations and we revisit and touch base again. But there is worlds that was changed in me, and that definitely I get from the community, and it just reverberates out through the rest of my life and business. And definitely want to take a moment and thank you, everyone, all of the hosts and all of the participants in the community, for what we're creating here together. There are seeds being planted, and I'm not sure what's going to bloom from them. And I don't need to know right now. It's another, now let it go, ZDs.
I always tell people, stop looking for the results, because we're like the stone that's been thrown into the big pool. We see the splash we make, and then we sit on the bottom of the pool, totally unaware of how far that ripple goes. We don't see how many times that ripple touches other ripples and changes things. All we know is that we made a splash.
And that pool is forever different, because now we're a part of the pool. Yeah.
So we're still, in some levels, still having a constant input into that. You could throw I mean, technically, you can throw a big boulder into the ocean, and that ripple from the splash goes on forever, because we just we don't see it, but it's still traveling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and so for me, I try not to find the results. I just know that there are things happening, and that's for me is enough.
So this connects beautifully to our next question. So lots of love for the money and alchemy video that we did. Thanks for that. And just, they're saying, I love the energy that Greg was being in this video, and how I just get the sense of abundance and ease with money from whatever he was being with his body. Now, would you recommend, if I'd like a certain amount of money or for more money to show up, to have like a very specific ask with that? Does that work with alchemy, or does that work against alchemy to have specific asks?
No, work with it totally. So for me, okay, for many years I pushed and pushed and pushed to try and create classes, tried to create a business, and in the end I was so pissed off with myself and with the universe, because everything was always a struggle. Yes, I could pay my bills at the end of the month, but there was nothing left. I'd have lucky pockets where we'd go somewhere and I'd have exactly the right amount of money to pay for lunch or something like that, but no more. No, there was nothing ever extra. And I always had an overdraft. So I decided, okay, universe, what would it feel like to have a zero balance, not a negative balance, but a zero balance? And I felt the joy and the ease of that. And I've got my body to radiate that joy and ease. And then I asked the universe, I said, what is possible here? What can I have? How long will this take me? It took me 2 months to go from a negative $500 balance, always at the end of the month, to zero balance. So, wow. So I've done that. What would it take now to have $500 in the bank at the end of the month? Okay, now what would it take to double that? What would it take to double that? And then I went really silly. I said, so what would it take to have $100,000? Oh, my God, what would that feel like to have $100,000 New Zealand in my bank account? It was amazing. It felt so amazing. But again, it's like, I'm not doing it from the space of lack. I'm doing it from the space of that childlike, wow, what will it feel like? This is going to be so cool. Not because I want the money. I want money so that I can change other people's realities. And I do that with my money. And I don't even see it as my money. I see it as the money that the universe gives me to create change. And to have ease with travel, so that people say, well, can you come and teach a class? Yeah, sure. When do you want me? There's no, I need money, universe, so I can pay the tickets, This constant living in the space of lack didn't work. But when you can ask the universe, not from the space of lack, but from the space of abundance and gratitude and joy, and that childlike wonder, wow, what would that be like? And this is, again, what Santiago is doing with his journey. He's not going to the pyramids to find his treasure because he wants money. It's just a dream and an adventure.
Well, I think they mentioned that as well, and that was really, really beautiful. Just taking a moment, just soaking that up. There is multiple times when he's mentioned, he's told that, the people who are focused on getting the gold and that result don't actually reach their personal legend. It doesn't work. But if you're in it for the journey and for discovering and for knowing more of you and for having these like more in-depth conversations with your heart and with the soul of the world and all, okay, it's like, like that's That's really different. This energy of like curiosity. And I didn't get it. I was like, there's a lot of conversations about luck and coincidence in this book. And we just had this beautiful conversation with Megan last month. And then when they're bringing up luck again this month in this book with this month, I was like, oh, there's an interesting kind of take to it. And then when you're talking right now about, okay, well, not lack, we have to look, and I was like, oh, there's only one letter you have to change. It's like, don't go from lack. You have to go and choose and create from luck.
Yeah, yeah,
Conscious luck. It's like, it's all connected. I love how these books talk to each other. I'm just saying.
yeah.
Like,
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And then you start to realize that you can create more and more. And really, then what happens is you lose the fear of losing everything. Santiago lost everything 3 times in the book.
and yet I don't think he says that, and I don't agree that he says that.
He does at the end.
Like
When
that he actually loses everything because he still has him. So that's not
Yeah,
everything. He still has
yeah,
his body. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, so this whole everything, but I know, but
yeah,
every time I read it, I was like, is it everything?
yeah. I mean, I lost the ability to walk. I lost the ability to talk. I lost the ability to use my left hand. I still, there's not a lot of sense there.
I was wondering what you were going with that. I was like, you just like slapping yourself a little bit? Okay. I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
no,
yeah. I'm
each
so
is
proud
their
of
own.
it. But but even then, people say, I was in a wheelchair. Aren't you upset that you're in a wheelchair? I said, hell no. My wheelchair gives me ability to move around. I'm so happy with it, I'm going to get out of it. But, at the moment, I need the chair to be able to do what I want to do. And it's when you can step away from the fear and the victimhood and step into the joy of just being. And the gratitude of, hey, I still breathe in the morning. I still wake up in the morning. I still, you realize that there's nothing you can't create. There's no way that you can't become the wind.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that because I kind of feel like, and I sense that the person who sent in the question about their life transitions might want a little bit more from us. So, and then I was about to ask you, and then you started mentioning it already. This whole piece of like starting with gratitude, if I'm hearing you correctly, but then also like seeing where your awareness leads you to go first, because they ask about, well, how do I which to tackle first? What is an example of Santiago doing that, where he had like multiple options and he was like, okay, let me do this first and then this next, kind of a thing? Like, what would you? Because I'm trying to recall an example right now, and I'm drawing up a blank.
Okay, so you're trying to create your life. You're trying, but nothing's happening. What space are you creating life from? You're creating from a space of lack, a space of anger, a space of escape. What would happen if you looked at all the things that you have created and all the things that you're grateful for in your life, and then ask the universe to have more joy? And then ask the universe, well, this would bring me joy. If I was to have a place where I could feel safe at night, if I had a car that was reliable, and feel the joy of having a reliable car, feel the joy of having $100,000 in the bank, feel the joy of having somebody who's warm and kind, who's kind, cuddles up to you in the nighttime. It's not the things that it's the universe is hearing, it's the energy of how you will feel while you have it. So Santiago never lost that feeling. He never went, never went into the victim. He's, what else can I do? What else is there? And this is where, I came to Europe with 2 suitcases. It's not the first time I've had nothing, but it's like, what the hell? I know that if I need to, I can create anything I need. Again and again and again. I know that. And there's no doubt in my universe. And if I don't, it's probably because I didn't actually really want it in the first place. But I know because of that, and also because of the gratitude I have for everything that I have created, including the ability to wake up every morning, then, there's nothing I can't accomplish. Why me and Gabi, we have an Irish Wolfhound and a 1-year-old puppy who's a terrier cross something for a rescue dog from Greenland. And, we walk every morning and every afternoon. So we do probably about 15,000 steps a day, just walking the homes. So for me to be able to do that is a phenomenal thing, considering my doctors told me, never try to walk, Mr. Bryers. You'll fall over and break something. Don't try to walk. Fuck that, I don't have time for that shit.
Well, so are you saying you never had a moment of doubt about you being able to walk again, or
No.
you being able to? And we're definitely gonna also share again your book that you wrote. You've written a couple different things, so that talks about this and your website. But if you didn't have any doubt in your mind, that's what I think this person's kind of speaking to. Is like, well, when you do have doubt, then what do you do?
When I have doubts, I ask who am I being for a start? What is this really about? And usually the doubts are because I'm tired, because I'm somewhere, I'm buying into somebody else's story. Somewhere I've forgotten what I've already created, what I already am.
Yeah.
And then I go back to basis. I will shut the world out, and I will just sit still, and I will just go through all my shit and look at it and go, wow, I created this. I'm so grateful for this. And I just feel myself with gratitude again. And it doesn't matter then what anybody throws at me. And it's not easy, but the biggest advice I could give anybody is look at the 10 people you spend the most time with. Do they lift you up, or do they remind you of how stuck they are? And if they're constantly talking about how stuck they are, find new friends.
Yep.
You don't have to drop.
Or
you don't
new
have to drop
family,
those
because a lot of us, it's the family that we're around. And then, that's part of what I had to do. I left Chicago, a different thing where I was like, I'm not sure where I'm going next, but I know I need to not be here. And it wasn't, I had a great life, great careers, great connections, friends, wonderful condo, all these different things in Chicago. And something was like, it's time for something different.
Yep.
Where's next? What's the next place? And just go and traveled the world until I was like, oh, Australia, I think, is next. And I applied, and it was just the action of applying that got me where I'm now. I'm not in Australia, even though I'd love to be. And I'm like, it's now, as soon as I got here, I was like, okay, I don't think it's actually Australia, but me choosing to apply and do all that got me out of Chicago. And it's super, like you said, not cognitive at all. And
choices create awareness.
Yeah, it did create a lot of awareness. And there were moments of doubt then. And I love what you said about, well, then I'm probably tapping into someone else's reality, or I'm not really wanting what I'm asking for, and it's actually something else. And then there was this other piece that you said, I'm trying to remember right now. Oh yes, when you're tired, like absolutely, when I'm lower on resources, like I actually immediately go into like, well, what else can I do to nurture my body right now, so I have that increased energy that I know is available to me, because we have infinite amount of energy available. So like if I'm tired, then I'm not really being with my body, or like I'm not listening to what my body needed this week or something, or I'm tapping into other people's bodies and not really being the reality that's possible with my body. So let's change this, And one of the things that I was doing this week, because I definitely had that come up this week, was one of the fastest ways for me, and I'd love to take, other than gratitude that we were talking about, that's a big one, is I put on some like stand-up comedy, anything that gets me laughing.
Yep.
Like, any quick videos, I've watched the same stand-up comedians, a lot of different ones that are my faves, over and over again while I go to sleep or while I'm working, to get me laughing. And then that bubbles up more energy. And then I'm like, okay. Yeah. Okay. One more. Okay. And then, I was like, oh, I'm back. I literally would message my friends like, okay, I'm back. What's now? What's going on now? And they're like, welcome back.
Yeah,
We miss
yeah,
you. Because they were perceiving it too. Like it's like I'm like a black hole when I'm not me. It's
yeah,
completely different.
yeah. I've got people in New Zealand that will message me, what the hell's going on? You okay? Yeah, I'm okay. I'm just dealing with shit. Okay. Want help? No, I'm fine. And just in that process lifts me up because, you realize you're not alone.
Mm-hmm. And they shine the light on like, oh wait, if they picked up on it too, like it's not just in my head, it really is that it's just not me and it's not real, and let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
Let's change it. I mean, that's what's nice about reaching out to other people like this. And anyone that's in our community, please, if you have those moments, like post it in the group, like reach out. You
yeah,
are not by yourself. Like don't buy all the BS that we have to be separated by any borders, by any race, ethnicity, color, gender, whatever, so that we can remind you, hey, well, you're not alone and that something else is possible. That's all the questions that were sent in. Gosh, just a little geek out before we go. Just a mini geek out. As I told you this a little bit, I think, as a speech language pathologist, and as just a lover of everything language, I love how they were mentioning, oh, the language of the world and the language of this and the language of the soul. And I was just like, all of the languages in one book. It was, and it wasn't about French or Italian or Spanish or English or Japanese. It was this whole other space. And I was looking at this, and since my conversation with you about this, actually, funny enough, I got another piece about it. I was like, this is actually the like consortium of languages that I'd really love to see in the world. Like when I talk about like bilingualism and cultural awareness and all these different things, because people pay me money to like do team building and like talk about this in different facilities. I thought I was talking about what was true for me and what I'd really like to see. And I was like, oh yeah, I'd love for the world to be multilingual, and I'd love for the world to, for no matter what language and country people are from, that they could understand each other and they could relate, and they could at least respect each other and find those commonalities and let go of the stuff that's different and whatever. And then I revisited this freaking book, Greg. And I had a conversation with you. I was like, there's that. And then what else? There's something else there. And I leaned in because it was the magnet, and I leaned in and I was like, oh, it's this shit. It's this. I'd like everybody to recognize the language of energy and of the soul of the world and of the earth and all these whispers that we're getting. All this. This is,
yeah.
I've changed my ask from this book. So once again, just immense gratitude. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Just on that, like I've been in Austria now nearly 4.5 years,
Mm.
and I'm stupid as a post and trying to learn another language. I mean, German, it speaks from back here. And it feels like I'm trying to deform my face and my mouth to try and pronounce some of the words. So in the end, I was like, I can't do it. But when people talk to me or when they're having a conversation, I get the energy of their conversation. And, so they can't sort of be unkind in the conversation about me or whatever. But also even in classes, I know when my translator's gone off track and it's like, no, I didn't say that. No, you need to ask me the question again. Or sometimes even people in the class have said, I don't speak English, Greg, but I understood everything you said. How was that? Now, how did that happen? I says, well, you don't know the words that I'm saying, but you feel the words that I'm expressing.
Mm.
And it's the same thing. I mean, this is Russia, France, Germany, Austria. Where else have I done? Hungary. I've had people in all of these different countries say this, and it's like, so what is that? And I think really is when we start to express from that same space. When we start listening, people hear you. And again, when Santiago is talking to the sun about
Into
what
the
love is,
desert, into the wind. I was like,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, you know, um, yeah. And I could quite happily say, I know how to become the wind. So, it's like, And this is the joy of it. And this is the peacefulness of it. And the book just reminds me of that journey. And I open it every day, or every second day. And there's other books that I read too, don't get me wrong. The Prophet by Khaled, and there's The Knight in Rusty Armor. There's a few other books, but it's like, what else is possible? Everything is possible when you live your life from the space of gratitude, when you're willing to just transform you without forcing it onto others. And joy follows that, and then it follows joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the chat, we have these beautiful comments. Thank you. This has been a life-changing conversation. The energy's present, and who you are being is such a living expression of the principles of the book. You guys are epic. Love the Prophet. Are you referring to the Prophet, the book? Okay. Because I was like, is Greg the Prophet now?
No.
Notice that resistance. Yeah, something for you to look at there. We are all the prophets, ha ha ha, in the chat. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm willing to be a prophet, and an alchemist and all those other things. But yeah, just me, not you, Greg, I guess.
Yeah. No, I don't want to be a prophet. Unless there's something out of Monty Python's Life of Brian, then I'm happy to stand there.
That's hilarious. That's a fun one. Classic. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Let us know what other awarenesses you have. I know that there's way more to discuss, just like how we can keep revisiting The Alchemist over and over again and all these other books. Like, I am also curious to see, what connections you're seeing between the books that we've discussed so far. And it might not just be me. I'm hoping it's not just me that's seeing these conversations and whispers and flirtations between the books. And then our next book is The Priori of the Orange Tree with Loredana Gaspari. And that'll be on September 2nd. So be on the lookout for information about it. And really excited to start digging into it. It's a sizable book, so please do not wait to start reading it. I'm actually going to have it as an audio as well, and then have the text while I'm reading it, like I did The Alchemist. There's something about the energy of it that's already been calling, and then the fact that there's the orange cover of The Alchemist, then there's the orange tree, and I was like, there's something here that I'm getting that's going to be with my visual senses. And then what else? Let's see. So I've already been asking for me to not need any glasses anymore. I've already cleared the stigmatism in both my eyes. So I was like, okay, more, so I could just have different glasses for fun and not because I need it to for the visual acuity. So I wonder if there's something in this book for me with this and some of my other asks. We'll see. Thank you again, Greg. Thank you, everybody that's here. Thank you, everyone that sent in questions and that is going to check out the replay later. And if there's any other way that we can contribute to you, please post questions and comments in our group. A comment here, first recorded in 1150 to 1200, Middle English from Greek prophets, equivalent to pro, before in time. Oh, prophet, the breaking down prophet. Okay. I was like, what's this? Okay. And so it's about before in time, place, precedence, dignity. So it's someone who is before their time, before their place, before precedence and dignity.
Yeah.
Precedence and dignity. A speaker. So fets is for speaker, derivative of to speak. See also prophet number 2, like pro number 2. So basically, if you are here before your time, if you have great dignity, if you're beyond space and time and place, then you may be a prophet. But it's, again, only me and everyone else in the group and not Greg. Got it.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that. Bye, everybody.
Bye.